Welcome to the Labs for Geology 1405, The Dynamic Earth. I'm Professor Vince Cronin, and along with Dr. Lindsay DiPietro, Introductory Lab Coordinator Sharon Browning, and 4 capable geoscience graduate students who are serving as teaching assistants for this course, I hope to facilitate your learning about Earth and its materials, systems, processes, and history. The purpose of this video is to briefly explain how we plan to conduct labs ranging across 12 different topics between now and Thanksgiving. Use the controls on your video player to pause or replay the video when the information flow seems too fast to process. The homepage or syllabus for the lab is online and accessible through this web address. Because it is a document that is revised frequently, you will need to reload this page in your browser every time you visit this web page to be certain that you are viewing the most current information. Your work on each lab topic spans 1 week of time. You start by going to this lab homepage and finding the tentative lab schedule. Find the column labeled Topic and link to more info, scroll down, and click on the link to the lab you need to work on. The first lab is the Introduction Lab, which will be done during the first week of the semester. When you click on the link, you get a web page that provides an ordered list of tasks you need to complete. It is best to do these tasks in the order that they're presented, but the bottom line is that you need to complete the assigned work and submit it before the deadline each week. The deadline for each lab section is 11:59 p.m. Central Time on the day after its weekly lab meeting. In the first week of lab, the list of tasks includes viewing some videos, reading parts of the first chapter in the lab manual and in our lecture textbook, downloading and installing Google Earth Pro on your computer, and completing 3 of the lab activities in the lab manual. You are required to have your own personal copy of the 12th edition of the AGI-NAGT Laboratory Manual in Physical Geology. You can't borrow or rent this lab manual because we will be writing on the lab manual activity sheets and tearing them out of the book to scan and submit for credit. There are perforations near the binding on each page of the lab manual, so carefully tear from the book each lab activity sheet that you are assigned. It's probably a good idea to work out the answers on a separate sheet of paper before transcribing your final answers to the lab activity sheet you have torn from the lab manual. Don't write preliminary answers on the lab activity sheet in ink. Do write or draw your final answers on the lab activity sheet in a way that will make it easy for your teaching assistant to read and evaluate your work. Any response on the lab activity sheets that your GTA cannot understand, either because it is poorly scanned or because the writing is not legible or clear, will be given a grade of 0, bubkis, nada, nothing. Whether your work is neat and clear is a grading criterion for each lab activity. This isn't high school, so you don't get credit unless your answer is clear, easy to read, and correct. Work all the way through the assignment before joining your weekly lab meeting. Every student in this course is registered in a specific lab section, and each lab section is managed by a graduate teaching assistant. Each lab section will meet online for a video conference once each week at the beginning of the scheduled lab time. During the weekly lab conference, you will be able to join your graduate teaching assistant and fellow members of your lab section for a discussion or question and answer session held via Microsoft Teams as a video conference. You will need to be able to access the internet during your assigned lab time. This semester, all of the virtual lab sessions will be in the afternoon or early evening on either Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. The work you submit for credit must be your own work. We encourage you to work with each other, learn from each other, and help each other to understand the material. But we draw the line at providing answers to someone else or getting your answers from somebody else. Copying somebody else's work nullifies your learning process. Taking credit for someone else's work is dishonest and beneath your dignity. Based on your prior work on the lab activities and whatever additional clarification you receive during the online lab session, you complete your lab activity sheets, scan them using a document scanner or your smartphone, and submit them to an assignment portal in Canvas for your GTA to grade. The deadline will be 11:59 p.m. Central Time the day after your weekly lab meeting. Finally, you will take a short online quiz intended to let us know whether you have actually learned what you should have learned as you worked your way through all of the steps of the assignment. You will have to complete that quiz before 11:59 p.m. the day after your weekly lab session. And then it's on to the next topic. It's a fair bet that this is not like any lab course you've ever taken. The burden for learning is on you, as in fact it has always been. This general style of course, in which students learn the basics of a topic by reading the textbook, viewing videos, and doing exercises prior to a class meeting, is called a flipped course, and science education research generally shows that flipped courses are more effective with respect to student learning than conventional lecture courses. You will do well in this flipped lab course if you work your way steadily through each topic, working at least a little bit every day so that when it's time for the weekly video conference, you will be essentially done with that topic. Right after the video conference, you should be ready to submit your work and take the end of lab quiz. Our job as teachers is to facilitate your learning. Your job as a student is to do the work of studying and learning. If you neglect this work, if you procrastinate until it's too late for you to learn the material and complete the assignment before it's due, you will not do well. Good grades in this course must be earned. That said, bring a curious mind to the lab activities, and we think you're going to have some good nerdy fun while you're learning about Earth through this lab experience.